Hello, my name is Victor, and in this video I'm going to show you the questions that are likely to be tested in the upcoming KJSEA Integrated Science 2025. So, grade 9 students, how do you feel about the exam? Are you prepared for the exam? Now in this video we are going to fine-tune and help you to actually know the areas that are more likely to be asked, the questions that are likely to come in your exam, and also how you are supposed to answer those questions. Now, we are going to use a sample of KJSEA paper that was provided by the Kenya National Examination Council (NEC) in January. Now, this paper will look like this. Your exam paper will look like this. You will have that space to indicate your name, school assessment number, school code, date, and of course your signature. And then you have to read the instructions. Now, it is important you read the instructions in your exam. Don't assume the instructions that will come and assume that they are the same that you have been seeing in other exams. So in this video, I'm going to go directly to the questions. However, I want to show you briefly how the format of the paper will be. So integrated science, you'll have two papers. The first paper is for theory. It is worth 70 marks. The second paper is for practicals, and it is worth 30 marks. Now, this question has two sections, section A and section B. Section A has multiple choice structured questions that you'll either choose between A, B, C, or D. And then you'll have section B. So section A will have 30 marks and it has 30 questions. Section B will have 10 questions, question 31 to question 40. Yes. And that too will carry, now this one will carry the 40 marks. So in essence, it's like saying 10 questions will have 40 marks. So like each question will have an average of 4 marks. Now it is important to master the concepts in both sections. In fact, both sections, like in mathematics, will cover generally similar areas, but in section B you'll require to have in-depth knowledge of certain questions, and you'll be asked maybe to mention 3 concepts, 3 points or something, or 4 points. And it could also have section question 31 will have part A and B. Anyway, we'll see all that. Now let us go directly to question 1. So in this video we are going to look at this sample and try to answer the questions, and also try to understand what concepts do the examiners want to test in you, and then try to figure out or to project on similar concepts that the examiners might still want to test you in the upcoming exams. Now, question 1, here it goes. You are asked, which one of the following symbols observed, or the following symbols represents corrosive substances? So you are told that during a lesson to identify common hazards and their symbols, learners observed various symbols. Which one of the following symbols observed represents corrosive substances? So in this question they want you to learn whether you know symbols put on various chemicals in the lab or various industrial products. Now, so this symbol part that is labeled A represents flammable substances. When you see this flame, it represents substances that are easily flammable. When you look at B, you will see that there is like a substance that is being poured on hand, then it causes corrosion, and also on a surface which causes corrosion. So therefore the correct answer for this question, substances that are corrosive, was B. Now let us go to C. What does C represent? C represents irritants or harmful substances. Substances that can irritate or that are harmful. What about the last one? D. So D represents health hazards that can cause long-term damage, e.g. carcinogens, mutagens. Mutagens are substances that can cause genetic mutation. So it is important to revise well for your upcoming exam. You need to understand the various symbols and what they actually represent. So do not settle only on these 4. You can revise more, and so that when your exam comes, you are able to answer that question. Question B, we are told, during a group discussion, learners listed the following benefits of studying various subjects. 1, they said, to understand nature. 2, strengthen one's faith. 3, improve one's behavior. 4, solve problems in daily life. Now, in relation to then the question there, we are told, which 2 are benefits of studying integrated science? So in relation to this paper or study area that is integrated science, which 2 do you think are correct? So 1, when you look at understanding nature, these are core objective of integrated science. You want to learn, especially when you are learning about physics. You remember integrated science has 3 core areas. There is physics, chemistry, and biology. When you are studying physics concepts in integrated science, you want to know about nature, about forces, about magnets, and all those things. Then the other benefit is to help you solve daily problems. When you learn science, for example, when you learn about tools, you are able to know which tools or how to design tools that can help you to make life easier, to solve daily problems. This highlights the practical application of scientific knowledge, a key aspect of integrated science. What about how then do you disapprove the other 2 points? So the correct answer there was 1 and 4, understand nature, and 4, solve daily problems. What about strengthening one's faith? That is a core area in religious studies. What about improve one's behavior? Again, that is more related to social studies and not primarily the benefits of science education. Although in a way, when you learn about pollution, you could improve your behavior. However, this one is more of a social concept related to, or you have more weighty points in 1 and 4 instead of the point 3. So the correct answer there was D. Now, the next question, you are asked, during a science lesson, learners discussed chemical symbols of the following elements. So they discussed hydrogen, they discussed nitrogen, aluminium, and silver. Which of the following sets shows the correct chemical symbol for each of the elements? So you are being asked for the correct symbol of this. So you have hydrogen, nitrogen, aluminium, and silver. So this question wants to test whether you know the chemical symbols of the various elements. So we know that hydrogen, the chemical symbol for hydrogen is H. The chemical symbol for nitrogen is N. The chemical, remember it's a capital. The chemical symbol for aluminium is Al. The chemical symbol for silver is Ag. So these are the chemical symbols for these elements. Now, you will be asked in your upcoming exam, you will be asked the chemical symbols for different elements. Now, it is important to understand what elements are more likely to be asked. So, the most likely elements to be asked are these common elements. Now, what other elements could you be asked? For example, you could be asked about oxygen. Let me not write the full name, but write the symbol. But you will listen well. So the chemical symbol for oxygen is O. That is oxygen. The chemical symbol for carbon is C. The chemical symbol for you have the first 20 elements. What about neon? Neon is Ne. What about sodium? Sodium is Na. So it is important especially to know the chemical symbols of the first 20 elements and actually know their order. So you have neon, sodium, you have argon, you have silicon. Now that we have mentioned silver, what about mercury? Mercury is Hg. What about gold is Au. What about copper? Copper is Cu. The first letter is capital, the second is small. For symbols for elements with whose symbol is 2 letters. The first letter is capital, the other one is small, even for sodium. We have calcium, that is calcium. You could also have magnesium. You also have sulfur. Sulfur is S, that is sulfur. What else? Fluorine. Fluorine is F. Chlorine is Cl. Boron, beryllium. These are among the first 20 elements. Do you know how to order these elements in terms of their appearance on the periodic table? So let me also give you a hint. The first 20 elements, there's a song we used to say when you were in school, and it used to go, hey, he, listen, BBC News on Friday night. So this already are 10. So I could indicate the rest somewhere else so that we do not crowd this place. So on Friday night, then 6 ministers arrested 6 people suspected committing a political crime. So if you count this, they should be 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So this first 20 elements. So what do this represent? Hey, the first one is hydrogen, helium, lithium. This one is in the second group. So this is beryllium, then boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. Then you come to this one. This one is sodium. Sodium is written as that. Then we have magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur. So take note of those with the S. The first one is sodium, this one is silicon, we have phosphorus, then sulfur, chlorine, and argon. This one is potassium, potassium for P, potassium. Then crime is calcium. What about other elements that are not among the first 20 elements that are commonly asked? We mentioned about copper. Oh, we didn't mention about, this is iron. What about this one? This one is lead. This one is lead, copper, iron, lead. And maybe we could mention iodine. and bromine, iodine, bromine, silver, mercury, this is gold, then mercury. So when you understand this, these symbols with their correct, with these elements with their correct symbols, you are sure to get that question when it comes to your exam. Now, let us proceed with this paper. That is question 3 for you. Question 4. Question 4. You are asked, substances in nature exist either as elements or compounds. During a lesson, learners classified substances into elements and compounds. Which of the following pairs of substances consists only of compounds? So which pair consists of compounds? So it is important to understand that these are elements. These are elements. Remember, I wrote the symbol. I did not write the full name, but I mentioned. So if you are keen, you can write the element and the symbol. However, so what do you notice? Here there is copper and iron. These are elements. Here is copper and iron. These are elements, not compounds. Iron and water. There is iron here. Water, chemical symbol for water is H2O. H2O, it has hydrogen and it has oxygen. 2 atoms of hydrogen combine with 1 atom of oxygen to form H2O. So which one of the pairs consists of only of compounds? So B is wrong. We go to C. C, you are told water and carbon dioxide. So this is water. The carbon dioxide is written as CO2. So it has carbon and it has oxygen. So this is they are called compounds. If you are told to define compounds, you could say these are substances formed when 2 or more elements combine. So substances that are formed when 2 or more elements combine. Here there is carbon and oxygen. So these are compounds. The correct answer was C. However, it is important to look at the other option given. The other one is copper and carbon dioxide. We all know that copper is here, it is an element. So the correct answer there was C. Question 5. In a class activity to classify mixtures, learners were given the following elements. So here you are being asked, you are given elements: salt and sand, sugar and water, kerosene and water, milk and water. So briefly, the previous question, it is important to understand how elements are and how compounds are. So you could be given any other set of compounds or elements. So this is why you need to understand the first 20 elements and the rest. Alright, so here you are given 2 pairs, salt and sand, sugar and water. You are given kerosene and water, milk and water. And you are asked, which 2 of the mixtures are homogeneous? So what's the difference between compounds and mixtures? Compounds, the components are chemically bonded, that they even have a fixed ratio here. H2O, water can only be H2O, it can never be H3O or HO3. So mixtures, on the other hand, are not chemically combined and they can be separated using physical means. Now, here, you are asked, which of the 2 mixtures are homogeneous? Again, for mixtures, there is homogeneous mixtures are those that can be that are uniformly distributed, whose components are uniformly distributed, and you cannot be able to separate. Okay, you can separate, however, but the components are uniformly distributed. What's the opposite of homogeneous mixtures? It is heterogeneous. So you have homogeneous, you have homogeneous, mixtures, and heterogeneous mixtures. So, for example, an example of homogeneous mixture is when you mix water and milk. Yani it is, water and milk are evenly distributed. Huwezi sema in this cup pale juu you have more milk na pale chini you have more water. No, they are uniformly distributed. What about maize and beans? Sometimes hata ukipika githeri you could find maharagwe iko on one side. So therefore when you are able to see the components, you are able to see this maize and beans, that one is heterogeneous, especially when you are able to see the different components. But milk and water, when you mix, you can't tell this is water, this is milk. Now, so salt and sand, you are asked two of the mixtures that are homogeneous. So look at them. The first one, you have salt and sand. When you mix salt and sand, you are able to see salt is there and sand particles are on one side, just like maize and beans. So therefore that is heterogeneous. Sugar and water, when you mix water and sugar, so the sugar disappears in the water, it dissolves, completely dissolves. Therefore that is homogeneous. So that one is one of the answers. Kerosene and water, when you mix kerosene and water, you know kerosene is less dense than water. So water will settle down and then kerosene, like oil, will float on top of the water, will form another layer. What about milk and water? Milk and water, as I had said, when they mix, you cannot clearly say this is milk, this is water. So they are completely mixed. So the correct answer for homogeneous mixture was milk and water, and what, sugar and water. So in your exam you could be given different other set of components to identify. So as I have said, that when you are given oil and water, they will not mix. But oil and kerosene, oil and petrol and kerosene, petrol and diesel, those are non-polar liquids. They will easily mix. But polar, which is water and milk, and ethanol, yes, ethanol that has an OL at the end, they are polar compounds. So you can note that water, ethanol, and milk will mix. They'll form either of the three components. If you are given a set of two, they will form a homogeneous mixture. Now, somebody could have asked, what are polar compounds or elements? Well, it might be beyond you, but polar means water. Anything that is polar compound means can mix with the water. You learn more in senior school about polar compounds. Question 6. During a class discussion on metals and nonmetals, learners were asked to classify the following elements. So, learners were asked to classify, question 6, calcium, sulfur, phosphorus, and sodium. Which of the following elements consist only of metals? Only of metals. So, the calcium is a metal, sulfur is not, phosphorus is not, sodium is a metal. So you need to understand the periodic table. You need to understand the periodic table. The periodic table here, here you have hydrogen and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So metals are in the first three groups. The first three groups here. So look at the periodic table in the book and look at elements. Apart from hydrogen, all other elements that are here, you will see you have lithium, beryllium, boron. You have sodium, magnesium, aluminium. You have potassium, and you also have calcium. Other metals that are not in the first 20 elements, the rest here are nonmetals, from carbon, nitrogen. Hey, listen BBC News on Friday night. 6 ministers arrested, 6 people, 6 people suspected committing a political crime. So this is chlorine, this is silicon, phosphorus, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, and helium. So this is the periodic table with the first 20 elements. So when you look at this, your exam, now that this paper asked about metals only, your exam might ask about nanometals. So it is important to understand nanometals are this. Other nanometals that you do not study but are present are here. You have iodine and bromine. Other metals that you could be asked, they will expect you to know, include copper. Actually, the other elements that we wrote apart from this, copper, silver, gold. Gold is a metal, a precious metal. We have lead. You have mercury. Mercury is a metal, Hg. I think these are enough. So these are metals. You need to understand metals. So for this question, the correct answer was 1 and 4, which is A. A shows 1 and 4. Good. Question 7. The diagrams below represent the arrangement of particles. Arrangement of particles in 3 substances as drawn by a learner during a lesson of states of matter. So you have arrangement of particles. These particles are sparsely distributed. They are not even close to each other. Here, these are very closely packed. These ones are close, are distant. Some, actually, they do not have, they are far apart, but not as this. Now, when you look at this, these particles, you should know that solids, their particles are packed together. Liquids are a little bit far apart, but gases are actually very, very far apart from each other. So when you are asked about which two of the diagrams represent the arrangement of particles in air and in water, you have air, we have said this is air, so you look for 1. So A or B. Then you go for water, it's a liquid. Water is a liquid, so it is 3. So the correct answer here was B. Now, what other questions could you be asked? Maybe instead of water, they could talk of milk or kerosene. Just know that this one represents liquid. This one represents gases. This one represents solids. Maybe they could mention a stone directly. What else could be asked around this topic? What else could be asked around this topic? What could be asked is changing from one state of matter to the other. So, substances move from solid, they go to liquid when you heat, then at the end they go to gas. You could be asked about the name of the processes. The names of the processes from solid to liquid is called melting. Melting. What about when it was a liquid, then you make it to be a solid? When you cool it, it is called freezing. Freezing. What about this process? When it becomes a liquid, then you continue heating. Like when you heat water, it vaporizes and becomes gas. So this is called evaporation, evaporation, or vaporization. Vaporization. What about when it becomes a gas, then you cool it and it becomes again a liquid. The reverse is called condensation. What about another process? Some substances can change directly from solid to gas directly without undergoing the stage of liquid. That process is called sublimation. What about substances that goes when it becomes a gas, then you cool it directly? That substance can become a solid directly. That process is called deposition. It is deposited from a gas to a solid. It's called deposition. So what substances undergo these two processes? Substances that undergo that, the first one, we have mentioned iodine in that when I was drawing the periodic table. After fluorine and chlorine, below it I wrote bromine and iodine. So substances that undergo deposition and sublimation include iodine. This is the easiest example you can know of. Another one is camphor. The other one is solid carbon 4 oxide, solid CO2, that is used by vendor in the vendor's box. When you wanauza ice cream wanazunguka na that box, it uses solid carbon 4 oxide. So the easier ones to know is iodine and solid CO2. Then you can talk of camphor, and there are several other substances you could read about them. Now let us go to question that was question 7. Now we are in question 8. Question 8 reads, learners were controlling fire which was burning a bush. Which one of the following actions could not control the fire? So you need to know concepts around fire management, how to put out fire, and practices that actually will not help in putting out fire. So the first one is turning on the fire alarm. So when you turn on the fire alarm, you need to know, this question was really a trick one, and if it comes, we know that when fire occurs, you need to turn on the fire alarm to alert everyone. However, that one will not put out the fire, will not control the fire. It will only make people aware and go to safety. What about B? Cutting off oxygen supply. We know oxygen is necessary for combustion, and we need to cut off oxygen supply. That is why we use CO2 in fire extinguishers to form that blanket that denies fire supply of oxygen. What about C? Cutting off the source of heat. Yes, so you cut off the source of heat. The last one, moving fuels away from the fire. That is also correct. So the answer that will not control fire, it is turning on the alarm. This question in last year 2024 KJSEA, one of the top questions, I don't know whether it is question 1, it asked no, it is not question 1, but it was in paper 1 of chemistry for Form 4. It asked to complete the fire triangle or diagram. So I am suggesting you also revise that. You are told, you are usually given this kind of diagram that shows you factors, and this question also wanted you to apply that knowledge. These are the 3 components or factors that are necessary for combustion or to start a fire. So the first one is oxygen. The other one is heat, and the other one is fuel. To start fire, you need fuel, whether it is wood or gas, like cooking gas. You need oxygen supply. That experiment has been done about the candle, and you're covering it, the fire goes out after some time. Then the heat. You need heat. If you pour water on wood, it cools that wood, and therefore the fuel is there, oxygen is there, but because of cooling, it puts out the fire. So you need heat to continue, to start and sustain fire. Also, when you're using a matchstick, when you do like this, that is heat you are generating. Scouts, or how fire was invented, it was wood that was wrapped together until heat generated fire, a flame. Yes, so now you understand the three components of fire. Alright, question 9. Question 9 asks, learners observed that water obtained from a nearby stream was not lathering easily with soap. They suggested the following as methods of making the water to lather easily. 1. Boiling the water. 2. Filtering the water. 3. Adding washing soda. Which of the methods suggested by learners could be used to make water lather easily? So, this question asks your knowledge about soft and hard water. Soft and hard water. We know hard water does not lather easily, and one source of hard water is wells. Soft water is rainwater. Yes. So, and what makes water hard is presence of some minerals like magnesium and calcium. Now, one way to make water become soft, to soften hard water, that is what they're asking. One way is boiling. So, option A is correct, boiling. So you need to boil water. The other one, you are told to filter. When you filter, you only remove solid particles. You are not able to remove dissolved elements like calcium and magnesium. However, adding washing soda will combine with the calcium and magnesium elements and will remove them, now making water to lather easily. So the correct answer was 1 and 3. Roman 1 and 3, which is C. Question 10. Question 10. So questions around softening hard water could come in your exam. Or a source of soft and hard water. Question 10. And in this paper that was given by NEC, there was a mistake in numbering there. So question 10 is missing, but we have question 11. So question 11 asks, the following are some changes that take place in day-to-day life. Water becoming ice, fermenting of milk, rusting of iron nails, drying of wet clothes. So you are asked, which one of the following pairs consist only of the physical changes? Physical changes, you need to know that physical change is reversible, but chemical change is irreversible. So physical change is reversible, or you can, for example, when we drew that diagram of melting from solid to liquid, you can also make it from liquid to solid. That is reversible, that is physical change. So water becoming ice, that is physical change. What about fermenting milk? When you ferment milk, you cannot make it fresh again. That is permanent, that is chemical change. Rusting of iron nails, when iron nails rust, it's a chemical change that includes iron reacting with oxygen and water, forming hydrated iron 3 oxide. That is the chemical name for rust. Drying of wet clothes. When you dry wet clothes, again, they could be rained on, or you could put them in water and they become wet again. So that is reversible, because where that drying is actually water that is absorbed on the clothes that escapes into air as gas. So physical change is 1 and 4. This one, D. Okay, then so similar again, that question asks you to understand questions related to physical change and chemical change. Physical change is change that is can be easily reversed, but chemical change cannot be easily reversed. Especially physical change is reversed using physical means. Physical means like just adding things together, or add, like this one is adding water, or just cooling, changing the temperature. And no new product is formed in physical change. So you need to revise around that area. That is an important testable area. Question 12. During a lesson, learners discussed applications of acids and bases. They listed the following applications: manufacture of car batteries. So its application of acids and bases: manufacture of car batteries, making of soft drinks, toothpaste, and making also of baking powder. So which one of the following pairs of applications listed are bases only? You need to understand substances around your environment that are bases and acids. So, alright, so car batteries, we know car batteries use acids, and that's why the material inside is highly corrosive. You also have soft drinks. We know soft drinks like soda use weak carbonic acid, which is sweet tasting. CO2 mixed with the water forms weak carbonic acid, which is sweet tasting, and that is used to make soft drinks. Toothpaste has is a base, and that's why we are told ukiumwa na nyuki you can apply, because a bee sting is an acid that is applied on you. You can use toothpaste on that part to relieve the pain. Baking powder, again, that is a base. Baking powder, powder ile ya kupika keki or mandazi, it's a base. So that the correct answer there was toothpaste and baking powder, Roman 3 and Roman 4. Because baking powder contains sodium bicarbonate, which is a base. Toothpaste has a base to kill bacteria, to neutralize the acids produced by bacteria. That is, car batteries use acid, which is sulfuric acid. Soft drinks, carbonic acid or citric acid. Citric acid is present in oranges. During a class discussion, question 13, during a class discussion on functions of parts of the male reproductive system, learners identified functions of various parts of the system. The function of testes is to, you are told, Roman 1, produce hormones and sperms. Roman 2, transport sperms only. Not Roman 2, B. C, produce sperms only. D, transport sperms and produce hormones. So, this question asks you whether you know the parts of the male reproductive system. The correct answer is that testes, we know, is the part that produces sperms. It does not transport, but it does produce sperms. Again, it produces male hormones that are responsible for male characteristics in organisms. So, the primary hormone that is produced is testosterone. Testosterone. This is a hormone so produced. Again, something that is relatable with the female reproductive system is that ovaries produce also hormones, and also produce the ovum. Or when there are many, ova. Now, so it is important to understand the various roles of the various parts of the reproductive system. Let me just confirm something. Yes, I was confirming the spelling of ovum, and it is correct. It is U, ovum, but when there are many, it is ova. What else? So when you read this question, which question do you think can come in your exam? You need to know which parts transports sperms. It is the sperm duct. Which part where does fertilization take place? It is in the oviduct or fallopian tube. Where does implantation or the development of the fetus from implantation since conception, where does the fetus develop in? It is in the womb, or what's the other name of womb? Let me confirm something. Synonym of womb. It is uterus. Sorry, it is uterus. Uterus. This one can easily forget such names, but it is uterus and or womb. Right. So you need to know all those parts. Know when you're given a diagram, to label the diagram and also to mention the names. And actually we have a similar question where you have a diagram. But question 14, you are told, after a discussion on changes that take place in boys and girls during adolescence, a learner summarized the changes as shown in the table. Which one of the changes is correctly summarized? So this learner said, change in boys is that hips become broad, and change in girls, he also said hips become broad. That is not correct for boys. Hips do not become broad for boys. Then part B, or B about the chest, the learner said chest widens for boys and said chest widens for girls. It is true for boys, but chest does not widen for girls. C, breasts enlarge for boys and breasts enlarge for girls. It is true for girls, but for boys, breasts do not enlarge. D, pubic hair grows for both boys and girls. That is correct. That pubic hair grows. So what are the changes? You need to know the changes that occur during adolescence for both boys and girls. What other changes are common only, that are especially common for both boys and girls, or that occur for only one gender? So for boys, voice deepens. They also grow beards. But for girls, they start experiencing monthly periods. Yes, and others. So you need to revise on that area well and know which changes occur for boys only, for girls only, and for both. Also, hair in the armpits grow for both. The diagram below, so this one is the female reproductive system. Female reproductive system, and you're given a diagram there. You are asked, so the diagram below was drawn by a learner to represent the female reproductive system with parts labeled K, L, M, and N. Use the diagram to answer questions 14 and 15. So, name the part labeled. The part labeled N represents. The part labeled N represents. What is N? N is the cervix. N is the cervix. This part separates the vagina from the womb. This is the cervix. And you need to know that it closes during pregnancy to protect the baby from coming out. There is a ring there. Higher. Then this part is the vagina, and the outer part is the vulva. This is the vulva. This M is the uterus or womb. These are ovaries. This is the oviduct. So don't be confused. This is the cervix. So you are asked, where does fertilization take place? In part labeled, we said it occurs in the oviduct or fallopian tube. The tube between the ovum and the uterus. Fertilization occurs anywhere here. So fertilization occurs at part K. So we are saying you look at the, so this year the sample paper, they gave you the image of a female reproductive system. So you never know whether they'll bring the same diagram and ask for different questions around them. You need to know the names and functions of each. Names and functions of each. Again, now that they brought this diagram, it is more likely they'll bring a diagram on the male reproductive system. So know how to identify the various parts and the functions of these parts. The other question 17 asks, at adolescence, boys and girls may experience frequent changes in moods. The best advice for such adolescents would be, so when adolescents have frequent changes in their mood because of different hormones, what would you tell them? You are asked, would you tell them to be sleeping less? Or would you tell them to avoid interactions? Would you tell them to do physical exercises regularly or eat more energy-giving foods? The correct answer would to tell them to do more physical exercise regularly, to engage in activities that will make them lively and also where they'll be able to reduce their stress. So physical exercise is a proven method for stress reduction and mood regulation, helping adolescents cope with hormonal and emotional changes. The other options are unhealthy and counterproductive. When you tell people to eat more food that gives them energy, it will not change their mood. Avoid interactions. Don't talk with people. Just stay peke yako. No, that will not help. And you tell them, don't sleep. Just stay awake. Don't sleep. It is counterproductive. You need to have quality sleep. Question. So remember, we didn't have question 10. Again, now here, this question is not. Anyway, this question will help us to answer questions that follow. But there's a mistake in that numbering. Now, this question asks, again, remember this question 17, but this diagram requires us to answer and refers this to question 17, which means the question that was skipped there was just a problem with numbering, but there is no question that was actually skipped. It is a problem with numbering. The diagram below was drawn by Alana to show parts of the human urinary system with parts labeled P, Q, R, and S. Use the diagram to answer questions 17 and 18. So this is the urinary system. So we know this is the kidneys. So we have the renal artery and the renal vein. You will know the difference that the renal artery brings blood to the kidneys. Renal vein takes away. Remember, arteries take blood away from the heart. Arteries take blood away from the heart, like the pulmonary artery and the rest. So when you know that blood is coming to the kidneys, know blood is coming from the heart or from the parts of the body, pushed by the pumping of the blood to these parts. Then when it comes out of the kidneys, it is through the renal arteries. So anyway, that is not asked here, but it was important. So these kidneys, this one we know it is called, when you're coming to the bladder, it's called the ureter. 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 Not, I'm not making a mistake, it is not urethra, it is ureter. Then you have, this is the bladder. Bladder, it is written bladder. Then from the bladder we have the urethra. 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 This is H. H and R. Urethra, and we had said we have kidneys. Kidneys. And of course renal, artery, and vein. Vein. Renal artery and renal vein. Now, the part that stores urine temporarily is represented by letter. The part that stores urine temporarily. So this diagram requires you to know the various parts by name and also their role. So we know that urine is produced by the kidneys. So they could ask the part that produces urine is labeled by letter P. So the part where urine passes to the bladder from the kidneys to the bladder is called ureter. Then here it is stored temporarily until it is full. When you feel now pressed and you want to go to the toilet to relieve yourself, to the washrooms. So that is part R. The question asks part that stores urine temporarily is R. S is where urine passes through when it is being expelled from the body. But question 19 asks the function of the part represented by Q. Q is to filter salt and water, that is P, where urine is formed, so that is not correct. B, filter waste products from blood, that is not correct, that is the role of P, the kidney. Provide temporary storage of urine, that is what we have said of R. What remains is provide passage of urine to the bladder. Yes, provides passage of urine to the bladder. It is already urine when it is formed, when it is coming out of the kidney. So it is to provide passage of urine to the bladder. Question 20. So we are halfway now. This paper has 40 questions. So we will continue answering and make notes of the answers, the way we are answering our questions, and the likely areas that will be asked in your exam. Question 20 has provided the image of the skin, the internal parts of our skin. So you are told the diagram below was drawn by a group of learners to represent the human skin with the parts labeled T, U, V, W, and X. Use the diagram to answer the questions 19 and 20. 19 and 20. So the part of the skin that produces sweat is represented by letter. So you need to look at this diagram and see. See which part produces sweat. Is it represented by letter? So you have X. This is the hair. So sweat is produced at part X. Part X. Sweat glands are there. Now, so the coiled sweat gland located in the dermis layer of the skin. It is located in the dermis, not epidermis. This produces the skin, whose role is to apart from cooling the body from the sweat, it also serves to release some waste products like excess water and salts. Question 21. Which one of the following is a function of the part represented by letter T? So part T, the dead skin layer. So protection against physical injury, insulation against heat loss, supply of the blood, production of hair. Production of hair is the base of the hair, where there is hair follicle. This base is where hair is produced. So that one is correct, is wrong. Sorry, supply of blood is the blood capillaries. Blood capillaries supply blood. Insulation against heat loss is a function of hair. When it is cold, your hair will stand still, trap a layer of air, and air is a poor conductor of heat. So therefore you will not lose heat. It provides insulation. What about protection against physical injury? The topmost part of your skin provides protection against physical injury to the more delicate inner parts. Question 22. The human... So before we go, these questions, you need to know the human skin, the parts of the human skin, by name and functions of each. So when you go and revise, look at those. And again, look at the various diagrams that you have learned. You have learned about the skin, you have learned about the kidneys, you have also learned about the lungs, the heart. Know about those parts by name and functions of each. Question 22 asks, the human digestive system has various parts that perform different functions. In which one of the following parts of the system does the absorption of water take place? So, so again, as we have mentioned, knowing the different parts of the different systems by a diagram, you also need to know the digestive system. So the stomach is where digestion continues from the mouth. Food is digested in the stomach, especially proteins. Large intestine, the primary role of the large intestine is where water is absorbed. That is correct. Where also water is absorbed is in the rectum. Rectum, where undigested and indigestible materials are temporarily stored. There is also water absorption there. So for this one it was large intestine. What about mouth? No. Absorption is when what you take in gets to the body out of the alimentary canal, now gets to the bloodstream. Small intestine is food absorption. So now this one they have asked about absorption of water. Now in your exam they could ask about absorption of food. It occurs in the small intestine or ileum. Question 23. Human beings have different types of teeth. Each type has a unique structure suited for its functions. Alana observed a model of a human tooth that had sharp edges and was chisel-shaped. The function of the tooth is likely to be, you need to know the shape of that chisel-shaped teeth. And generally you need to know the different types of teeth, their appearance, and even the description and the function. So chisel-shaped is for cutting. The chisel shape is for cutting, and you could also talk about it is not for crushing. Crushing is the molars that have a broad base. Chewing and crushing is the molars. So the chisel shape especially is for cutting. This is the structure of the incisors tooth. Incisors are chisel shaped. Incisors are these ones here. Then after incisors we have canines, the canines, then premolars, then molars. So these are chisel shaped like this. Then you have the root. This one is for cutting. Cutting. Now, question 24. Question 24. A medical officer gave a talk on healthy lifestyles that promote kidney health. Which one of the following could not have included in the talk as a healthy lifestyle that promotes kidney health? So which one is not included? So eating a balanced diet, we know when you eat balanced diet, it is healthy for all your organs, including the kidneys. Drinking plenty of clean water, that is particularly important for the kidneys. You drink a lot of water so that you avoid infection. Again, getting enough sleep. Getting enough sleep is for all parts of your body, including the kidneys. Eating sugary foods, oh my god, that would be the worst thing you would do to your kidneys. Eating sugary foods, you give the kidneys problems with eliminating this a lot of sugar, and again changing in about the osmotic pressure in your body. During a class experiment on properties of magnets, a learner freely suspended a magnet as shown in the diagram below. So this learner freely suspended this magnet. Which one of the following is the correct direction of the bar magnet would be aligned to? So you leave a magnet and then it will be aligned. It will align itself in which direction. Remember, magnets are used to make compasses which give direction. So when a magnet is suspended like this, it will usually follow the north-south direction. It will align itself to the north-south. Not east-west, not northeast, and not northwest. It will face north and south poles. Question 25. Question 25. In an activity to identify, so here you need to learn about magnets. Okay, then the next question is also talking about magnets. Before I give the other information, let us look at the question. In an activity to identify magnetic and non-magnetic materials, learners put a certain object in a carton box and placed the box near a bar magnet as shown in the diagram below. So box had the materials, then you have a bar magnet. You see which one, whether the box will be attracted. The box was observed to move in the direction shown by the arrow. The object inside the box likely to have been, you are given silver coin, an iron nail, a gold ring, a wooden rod. So you are being asked about magnetic and non-magnetic materials. So, and that is actually what I wanted to add. So the one that you should never forget is that iron. Iron is magnetic. Iron, magnetic materials. Magnetic materials. Iron. The symbol is iron like that. The other one is steel. Steel, I will not give you the symbol because steel is an alloy. It has iron and other elements that are mixed in it. Let us look at another magnetic material. Is it brass? Magnetic materials. So There is iron. Yes, there is nickel and cobalt. Nickel and cobalt. So the next question you could be asked about whether maybe you're given a list and you asked whether these are magnetic or not, or you asked to mention magnetic materials. You know, there is iron, steel, nickel and cobalt. Steel is this an example of where steel you can find it. This construction materials, you call it chuma hii ya kujenga, before the columns and the slabs are put. That is where steel you can find, or also stainless steel in your kitchen, that knife. However, don't be confused by aluminium. When you look at aluminium, you take a magnet and you try to put it on a aluminium sufuria, it will not hold, it will not be attracted. Yes, and other elements, but these are magnetic. Don't talk of wood, silver, gold, no. These are the only magnetic materials, the four of them. Learners, question 26. Learners classified sources of electricity into renewable and non-renewable sources. Which one of the following combinations of sources of electricity was correctly classified by learners? Renewable sources of energy and non-renewable sources of energy. This question requires you to understand various sources of renewable energy and non-renewable energy. Let us first answer the question. Renewable source of energy, you have geothermal, wind, you have natural gas, tidal waves. So the correct answer here, in non-renewable energy they have mentioned coal, hydroelectric power, solar and biomass. You know, geothermal is a renewable source of energy, including and wind, but natural gas, it's not. This one is wrong. Biomass is also not renewable. So the correct answer here was geothermal and coal. A. Geothermal and coal. So you need to know all the sources of energy that are renewable. Renewable means that they cannot be depleted. For example, when you are using wind energy, if you do not use wind, that wind that has been there during the day, you can never recover it. And if you use that wind, it does not mean that umemaliza wind sasa. You see? The same with solar. When you use solar, you are not going to deplete that solar. However, when you are using fossil fuels, for example, petrol, that is excavated or mined, so these petrol reserves or oil reserves, they continue to get depleted, zinaisha. You understand? Another one that is not renewable, that is renewable, geothermal. Geothermal uses heat from the earth. When because the earth, we know the earth is spherical, so because of the compression and the weight of all these materials on earth, at this core, at the center of the earth, it is very hot. And so when you are digging in some areas that are easy to produce geothermal energy, is especially areas like in the Rift Valley, where there exists cracks or weak points where heat energy is not as far. Heat from in the crust of the earth's surface is not as far from the crust of the earth's surface. So geothermal energy, you cannot deplete that heat from the earth. Other renewable sources include hydropower. You use water to generate heat. Because water, there is that hydrocycle, that water cannot be depleted. Water from falling, maybe waterfall used to turn turbines, that water does not get depleted. In fact, just continues with the flow in the river and can be used elsewhere in agriculture and other areas. Non-renewable sources include coal, natural gas, fossil fuels, and others. So you need to list all others that can be used. So let us look at tidal waves. Tidal waves is renewable because the water is not depleted in the process. Because you are using that tidal wave to generate energy, it is not depleted. Yes. Now natural gas, it is depleted because you are going to mine, just like the cooking gas is what we are calling natural gas. Question 27. In an experiment, natural gas is cooking gas. You need to note that. In an experiment to demonstrate the flow of electric current, learners connected materials to make simple electric circuits. Which one of the following diagrams represent an electric circuit which the bulb would light? So, note something, that the setups are the same apart from here. You have wood, you have nail, you have plastic, and you have glass rod. In other words, you are asking, do you know materials that can conduct electricity and that cannot? You remember the periodic table that we drew? All metals conduct electricity. All metals. So when you talk about nail, it's made of a metal. You could talk, the nail could be made of steel. We have said steel has iron and other elements, an alloy. It could be, mostly they are iron nails. Iron is a metal. Wood does not conduct electricity. Glass does not conduct electricity. Plastic does not. So that one that would light is this one. 28. Learners identified safety measures. So this question you need to know, I have explained that about materials that conduct electricity. Go and study about safety measures, about electric circuit and safety measures on handling electricity or faulty electric wires. And you could be asked about the suitable materials for insulating electric wires. So you can insulate using plastic so that you do not touch on live wires. Learners identified safety measures during a discussion of handling appliances. I had not read that question and now it is similar to what I was explaining. Which one of the following measures identified by the learners is safe? 1. Operating electrical appliances with dry hands. So when you touch electrical appliances, we know you should dry your hands, not wet hands, so that you don't get an electric shock. Connecting an appliance to electricity when cleaning it. So you're cleaning an appliance, then you connect to electricity. That is very dangerous because your hands are wet and the appliance is also wet. Inserting foreign objects into electric sockets. No, you shouldn't put foreign objects on electric sockets. Overloading a power socket with many appliances. No, that one could cause an electric accident. So the correct one is operating electrical appliances with dry hands. So those are some of the things you need to research on. Question 29. We are nearing the end. Question 29. During a class discussion on appliances used in day-to-day life, learners listed the following appliances: air conditioner, fireless cooker, thermos flask, washing machine. Which of the listed appliances use electricity to perform their function? You are being asked about electric appliances, whether you know them. So you need to know them and even know their appearance. You could be given an image and asked to identify an electric appliance. So we know air conditioner, The thermos flask does not use electricity, so you can cancel the one that is easy. What about fireless cooker without a fire flame? What about air conditioner? What about washing machine? So you're given A. So where there is 3, it is wrong. So B and D are wrong. Now let us weigh A and C. Let us weigh A and C. So an air conditioner, that one we are sure it uses electricity. The compressor is powered by electricity to cool air. Washing machine uses an electric motor to turn and drum and heat elements of. So a fireless cooker, that one mostly alongside the thermos, especially the thermos, we know we talk about insulation to keep food hot, but do not use electricity to perform their primary function. You need to look at the image of the fireless cooker and know that it is used to keep food warm, and therefore the confusion there would be the word cooker. So from my Google, a fireless cooker is an insulated container such as a basket or bag that retains the heat from a cooking pot to continue cooking food after the initial heat source is removed. The food is brought to a boil or cooked for a short time on a stove or fire, then put in a hot pot placed inside fireless cooker. So that one does not use electricity. Question 30. Curved mirrors are used in day-to-day life for different purposes. Learners discussed and listed the following as appliances of curved mirrors. So Roman 1, security mirrors in supermarkets, motor vehicle side mirrors, car headlights, solar cooker. Curved mirrors are used in day-to-day life for different purposes. Learners discussed and listed the following as applications of curved mirrors. So which of the two uses are correct for convex mirrors? Convex mirrors, where are they used? You will realize that they are used in security mirrors in supermarkets, where one can be able to visualize many people in one mirror, or it gives a large, what do you call it, a larger view on a small mirror. It is also present in motor vehicles side mirrors. We use a convex mirror so that one is able to have a wider view and see a whole vehicle, people moving behind and such. Headlights, no, and solar cooker, no. It is present in 1 and 2. The correct answer was D. Now, we have answered section A, the whole of section A. I'm going to create a separate video for section B, so that you also do not get tired watching a very long video. Already we have done section A in 1 hour and 23 minutes. That is 83 minutes. Yes. So you can take a break and then you'll also watch part B. Remember to revise again the areas that we have mentioned that are around just what you have been asked. Section A has questions around chemistry, have also questions around biology, the parts of the body, and has also questions around physics when you're talking about mirrors and magnets. Questions that are missing here revolve around especially in biology, related to biology, part of integrated science, parts of a cell, organelles. talk about the nucleus, cell membrane. They have also not talked about the light microscope, parts of a light microscope. They have also not talked about cell physiology, osmosis, diffusion. So we'll be looking whether it will be present in section B, and if it is not, it is an area that could be tested and you need to revise well on. So bye for now. See you in the next video. Remember to subscribe to my channel, Potent Academy. Thank you. See you.